Hey, David, good to see you back. Good to have you back.
Good afternoon, Councilman. Good afternoon, Cassandra.
Good evening, Counselor. How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm doing fine.
Good. Good to hear.
Everything's fine.
Hello, good afternoon.
You're muted, Mayor.
I'm muted. I'm sorry. By the time COVID is over, I'm going to learn how to use this new fandangled thing. Are we ready to go?
Is Counselor Romero joining us?
Huh?
Is Counselor Romero joining us?
He's going to join us from his house.
Okay.
So let's give it 1 second, and then is YouTube up? Mr. Ford from New Mexico Municipal League is also there.
Quiero agarrar.
Is Danielle around?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh. Cass, is Danielle around? Mayor was asking.
She's not there at City Hall. She's at home.
Did you need something, Dr. Taylor?
The mayor was asking for you, and I don't know what he needs.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell him that you're online, and maybe he can make contact with you.
Okay.
Is that Les Montoya? How are you, Mr. Montoya?
I'm doing good, Mayor. How are you?
doing good. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Looks like you're hard at it.
Yeah.
That's what I like to see. Government at work, baby.
Yes, sir. Hi, Jamie. Welcome. Jamie Aranda. Welcome.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Is Mr. Romero on?
Yes. He
Do
is.
you
I'm on, Mayor.
okay? Do you see Mike Montoya is on?
No, I do not see Counselor Montoya.
No, I
Okay.
don't see him either.
We're working on it. If you give us 1 second. Danielle Senna, is she here in the office
Yes.
or?
No, I'm at home, Mayor.
Okay.
Do you need me to go in?
We're trying to log on Mr. Montoya. So Danielle, do you know if which icon is used to log on for Mr. Montoya?
The screen that I left it on, he should be able to click on, I think, join or click on his name.
Okay.
On his email, it should say Counselor Montoya, I think.
Okay.
I could run over there real quick.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
no problem.
In the meantime, I think for the sake of time, we can get the meeting going. Give me 1 second. All right. I think Mr. Montoya is on.
Mr. Mayor, was IT in the building? I think IT is normally there.
Danielle was helping. She's on her way down. And do you know if YouTube is up and running, Cassandra?
I can't tell from here. We have Eddie DeChamp that's on. Eddie, are you there? Eddie. I see that he's there. He's just not answering.
Because I don't see the monitor on here. Let me check my phone. Okay, so I just got a message saying that yes, the YouTube is running. So without any further delay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Cassandra, thank you.
Mayor Louis Trujillo,
Present.
Counselor David Romero,
Here.
Counselor Elaine Rodriguez,
Present.
Counselor Michael Montoya, Counselor David Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum. We lost the mayor. And there's Counselor Montoya.
Cassandra, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, present. Sorry.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Ulibarri, would you like to lead us in a moment?
Sure. I just want to thank all the city employees that they're keeping safe and keeping the city cleaning the streets and everything, and with all the families that have been sick and everything, to keep him in our prayers and help him whatever they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ulibarri.
Mr. Mayor, approval of
Cassandra?
the agenda. And I do have an addition for the mayor's appointments. I sent an updated list of the appointments, adding the film commission and the museum board. I believe all of you received that through email. And we had some additional members added. For information purposes, just to let you know, the business items, there were numbered incorrectly. There were 2 number 3s. So second on page number 3, up at the top should be number 4, and number 4 should be number 5, and so forth. So we have 8 business items. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, with those changes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'd like to, well, there's a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. I was going to say that there was a issue that had come up with the planning, the extraterritorial zoning commission. And so we were asked to maybe delay the appointments of that team until they update the ordinances and so forth. Scott, would you like to talk about that? And could somebody please check your microphone because it's very noisy? Or if you could turn off all background noise. Thank you.
Sure, Mayor. This is Scott Aaron, City Attorney. I spoke to Mr. Garcia over at the county today, Chairman of the Commissioners, and we are working together to try to get this extraterritorial zoning, the whole thing up and running. It looks like what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go back and make some changes to that old agreement that was originally done back in 1984. It needs some updating so that it's compliant with the state statute. And then there was also an agreement, not only the agreement, there was actually an extraterritorial zoning ordinance that was adopted by both the county and the city. I think that was done in 1988. That too needs some updating. So I'm going to work on that with the county attorney, and we can hopefully push forward this whole thing as one package rather than piecemealing it. So that was the purpose of postponing these appointments for just a little while to give us some time to get this together so that us and the county are moving at the same pace together.
Mr. Mayor, if I can ask Scott a question real quick.
Go ahead, Mr. Romero.
Scott, on that on the JPA, one thing to address is the 3 members from the county commission, because that would violate their Open Meetings Act.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
The old agreement says that 3 of the commissioners are going to be on the authority, and then 2 of our counselors. But that creates a rolling quorum for the county, and so we're going to have to scale that back. So that's one of the issues for sure. And there's a couple of others in there, mostly just synthesizing the agreement with the current New Mexico statute.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
Yeah, also, I would like to recommend Commissioner Harold Garcia to be in this ATZ zone. He had been there before. I don't know if he got contacted or not, but I spoke with him and he is interested in serving in that capacity. And I know that we need his expertise in order to move forward in the ATC commission, because there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed. I believe that in the last probably 10 years, they may be met 3 times. So I request that Harold Garcia be put on that listing also. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. And I believe that's who Mr. Aaron spoke with. Mr. Garcia. So Mr. Garcia was bringing up those concerns. So do you guys want to move forward and approve all the appointments to all the boards that have been presented one by one, or do you want to do them all at once?
Mr. Mayor, point of order. We are in public input.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, public input is next, and I do have one comment, if I may read it into the record.
Sure.
Dear Mayor, City Manager, and City Councilors, thank you for the opportunity to allow us to provide public input regarding the proposed formation of a youth commission to serve the City of Las Vegas and our community. The Las Vegas Peace and Justice Center is in full support of this proposal. We have been working with local youth for a long time now to support their efforts, and we could not be more excited. When the city had a youth commission in the past, it was a highly successful aspect of local government and community life. Now is the time to bring it back, enhanced with superpowers by our town's very own incredible young people. It is time to take local youth empowerment to the next level. The Las Vegas Peace and Justice Center will continue to do all we can to support our local youth, including adding our full 100% support for the Youth Commission. We stand ready to help. Thank you for your consideration of the kids. They have had a hell of a year. COVID-19 has robbed our children of so much. Having a youth commission is an official, respected aspect of local government, cannot come soon enough. What a legacy you all are creating, a legacy for the sake of our youth. Thank you. Sincerely, Pat Lehan.
Perfect. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. That concludes public input. Moving on to mayor's appointments, reports, and recognitions, proclamations. We have the appointments to the following commissions and committees: the Marketing Committee, the Extraterritorial Zoning Commission, Youth Commission, Film Commission, and Museum Board.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I just had one question. Since we're actually taking a vote on this, and on the updated agenda, Cassandra, were the other, I know I have mine here, but were they notified, was the public notified within enough time to be taking action on those additional commissions or boards?
They were added right after the packets had gone out. So,
Okay.
yes,
Okay, so we're okay with that.
yes.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, with your recommendations, I hope that we approve this marketing committee and also the youth commission. The extraterritorial zoning commission will be brought up on another agenda on a later date.
The Film Commission and the Museum Board.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. So there's a motion on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Montoya. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call us, please.
Councilor Romero,
I'm gonna vote no, just because I'm not sure if those additional items were notified, so I'm gonna vote no.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Montoya,
Yes.
Councilor Livari.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Livari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Cassandra. I would just like to say, somebody's microphone is making a lot of noise. Thank you. I would just like to say that I'm really proud to put together and put forth the Youth Commission. I think it's very important that the youth will have a voice on issues that affect them in our city. And eventually, I would like to have a place at our city chambers to have a youth, perhaps the chairman of the Youth Commission, sit with us at the council table. This is a very exciting day for me. I really believe that the youth need to be heard in the community, and I think that we could be responding a little bit better to the youth, and with their help, let's move it forward. So thank you for all your work, and thank you, Pat Lehan, for your job and putting this together.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya?
I would just like also indicate and let our public view know that this is the first time that there has been full strength on commissions and committees, and their to capacity. All of them, all the commissions are filled up to beyond the numbers that we have ever had in City Council. So we're more than glad to be receiving their input and their recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Cassandra, for the record, and Scott, maybe you can chime in on this issue. I was made aware that the agenda did not have the additional boards there. So is it fair to move on, or should we just not do the last two and wait to do them at our next meeting? What's your advice?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
when we approved the agenda, we added those commissions on there. So that was, you can do that. You can change the agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Those were sent to us by email.
And
prior to
those,
the meeting also.
okay, and the
Yeah.
Film Commission and the Museum Board were on those, on
Yes.
that agenda as well?
On that email, yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Mm-hmm. Go ahead,
And
Mr. Mel.
if I can, I know we did get it, and I just wanted, and my reason for no was for that. I did get, I was made aware also that that as of even right now, that those items aren't on the website. And then that was just kind of my concern. So I don't know if you guys want to, I mean, the vote's already been taken. We could leave it as is, or I'm just.
So,
No, we'll just move on. I mean,
okay. Scott, are you okay with moving on with this?
I think that should be fine.
All right. Councilors' reports. Anybody want to? Anything? Mr. Montoya? Mr. Romero? No reports? Next item?
Mr. Mayor, next item is City Manager's report.
Thank you. Bill Taylor, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a few items. They shouldn't take very long. I just wanted to report that Stephen Aragon completed an economic impact analysis for the proposed park at sports complex at Rodriguez Park, and the analysis assumes the park will attract 86,000 visitors per year and generate $2.8 million in visitor spending. That comes to roughly $33 per visitor, so it's seems very reasonable to me. Second item, the COVID safe practices flyer. You had all requested that there be a flyer put in the utility bills, and that was done. It's bilingual. It's in English and Spanish, and it explains how to get tested. It explains how to get registered for the vaccine. And it just gives the general safe practices. The next item I have is we are doing COVID testing at the Recreation Center, and we're working with the Office of Emergency Management. We do need more volunteers to help with that. We've asked city employees to volunteer, but it is, we're just getting a few. We've had some volunteers from organizations like the Rotary Club. They've had people out there every day for this week, but they're going to burn out on this eventually, and so we're going to need to get more people helping with that. Mountain View and West National, Keene Street, the paving for Mountain View has been done, and there's striping that's still left to be done and some other little projects, but moving right along with that, and they've started the work on West National and Keene Street, and so they've done the grading and other prep work. Next, I just have something on the filming of the TV shows and movies. We've got 2 shows being filmed in Las Vegas right now, Roswell and Outer Range, and they are generating a fair amount of money. The economic impact from these events is substantial. Gross receipts tax revenue in November 2020 was approximately $200,000 higher than it was in November 2019. We think that that's largely attributable to the filming. If we're getting $200,000 in gross receipts tax revenue, that means that there was 10 million of activity generated in that month alone from the films. And so we've got other films that are coming up, and so wanted to keep you informed about that. The fiestas and other special events, it's always of interest to everybody. Chuck Riego is continuing to move forward with plans for this year's fiestas and other special events. Of course, those plans are contingent on us being able to open up, but we are modifying. Chuck's got a plan that will modify things, so we're going to incorporate lots of our parks, so South Pacific Park, Carnegie Park, Lincoln Park, as well as Plaza Park will all be part of the fiestas, and we're going to see that we can do this in a way that minimizes risk to people, and we want to constrain the spread of the COVID virus. And last thing is, I had a meeting along with other city officials from the region with Congresswoman Teresa Ledger, and she reported that the 1.9 trillion COVID relief legislation is moving through the House. The Senate has agreed to the overall size of the package, so she thinks it's going to go. There'll be tweaks to what's actually kept in there. But the House bill, as it is right now, has between 2.4 and 2.9 million for the city of Las Vegas, and maybe as much as 20 million for the county. And she's committed to giving us regular updates. So that's my report, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Bill. I just wanted to add that next Wednesday at 6 p.m., we are having a meeting with the business community regarding the filming in town. It's just to hear them out. We're going to try and get as many people on the phone on this meeting, just to hear them out and see how it's impacting the business community in town. So again, we will be getting that information out shortly. Mayor Pro Tem Romero is going to co-host the meeting with me, and we invite everybody to join in. It's at 6 p.m. next Wednesday, and hopefully we can answer some questions. We want to make sure we're being good neighbors with the business community when it comes to filming. So we're going to be inviting a bunch of people who are interested in speaking on the subject. And just wanted you to know that this was in response to a meeting that we had with a business owner a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday. I promised him that we would have this meeting, and it's Mr. Price, Don Price. And so I promised that we would have this meeting for the community, and so we're going to move forward and have this forum. So it'll be more of a town hall meeting and issues and answers than anything else. So we look forward to that. Thank you. Cassandra?
Mr. Mayor, if I could add to that, in the meantime, and I know we have the figures, I know the council has seen them as to the economic benefits of the filming industry in our community. Will that kind of be put out to the public prior to this meeting, or are we going to kind of present it at that time?
We could do either way. You know, we could make that information public on our website, or we could present it that night. I don't want the meeting to go on forever, but maybe we could have Dr. Taylor talk about the financial impact on the community, just as he did a while ago, and then move on from there. But yeah, Mr. Romero, that's a very good idea.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just to let you know, we've already posted a fact sheet on, I think Bill Hendrickson's here, but he put together a fact sheet, and I think we posted it on our website.
Perfect. That's wonderful. So that information's out there if you're listening and you want to look and see what kind of impact the filming industry has on our town. Go ahead and take a look at that document. Otherwise, that meeting next week, I hope will answer some questions. Cassandra, moving on.
Mr. Mayor, we have presentations not to exceed 10 to 15 minutes. Our first presentation is by AJ Forte, Executive Director for the New Mexico Municipal League, updating Mayor and Council on New Mexico House Bill 4.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Well, we're almost halfway through session, so I'll take that
I
as
know.
a good sign.
I'm analyzing bills for DOH. So today they sent a notice saying, "Yay, we're halfway through the season." So yeah, it's good news for me too. How's everything, Mr. Fort?
Well, we're busy.
Yeah.
There's more bad bills than good bills right now.
Yeah.
We're doing our best to get the FIRs out, present to committee, and it's unique this year. Even the league is subject to the 2-minute time cap when presenting on a bill, regardless of the type of bill or the significance of the bill. We're on the clock and we have 2 minutes to make our case. So it is challenging this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for doing the work you do. You've always been, the Municipal League has always been very active in being an activist for the cities and coming to bat for municipalities, and we really appreciate your effort. What's going on with this House Bill 4 that you could tell us?
That's a good question, Mr. Mayor and councilors. It's probably our number one priority right now, and has been really for the last 4 months. This is something that we have focused on from when the special session created the Civil Rights Commission. We made several presentations to the Civil Rights Commission on how this would affect local governments. And as the bill was originally drafted, it had no cap. So we would have been subject to essentially a 1983 claim, which is a federal civil rights claim at the state level with no cap. That was a great concern to us. Obviously, no city could afford an unlimited cap. And the reality is, especially with Las Vegas, right, you're part of the New Mexico self-insurance pool, right? We pool our insurance. So what happens to one of our cities affects the rest of the pool. It went through a pretty significant amendment. And what that amendment did is it put a $2 million cap. At first blush, a $2 million cap sounds much better than unlimited, but we're still concerned. 56 of our municipalities do not have a general fund budget in excess of $2 million. So even a $2 million cap is a real concern for our smaller communities. They just do not have the revenue to support even one of these claims.
So Mr. Fort, just for the listening public's sake, when you say cap, what are you talking about? A cap on claims?
Thank you for the question, Mayor. When I say a cap, what has been put into House Bill 4, which was an amendment put into place, there's now a $2 million cap per claim. And what I mean by that is damages could not be in excess of $2 million per claim. But there's a key difference there in the way the bill was drafted. There's a claim and an occurrence. So if an officer pulls a vehicle over and there's 4 people in the vehicle and a civil rights violation occurs under this act, it's not per occurrence, which would mean there's a $2 million cap for the entire incident. It would be a $2 million cap per claim. So the city would be subject to potentially $8 million if each claim hit the cap. So that's why there's real potential for this to be very expensive, because it's very different than the current Tort Claims Act.
Who is the sponsor of this bill?
The Speaker of the House, Brian Egoff.
Okay. And
yes, sir.
What's his rationale? Why would he do this if he knows that municipalities are strapped for payment? I mean, besides the fact civil rights is absolutely important, there's no doubt in my mind. That. But what is his what's his driving effort for this?
And Mayor and councilors, I never like to guess what the legislative intent is. But what we can say is the bill is strictly punitive. It will do nothing to prevent misconduct in the first place. There's no tools within the bill to actually change behavior or give us better tools on the front end to actually prevent incidents from happening in the first place. And that's really where we focused our energy to say, give us reform. And thankfully, people were listening. Senator Munoz and Senator Engel they heard our pleas for reform. And so they actually dropped a bill last week, Senate Bill 375, that basically does everything that we've been asking for. It properly funds the Law Enforcement Academy. It restructures the Law Enforcement Academy board, so it's a more diverse board. So hopefully those 130 officers that are currently in the queue, right, they adjudicate them much faster, give them their due process in a faster timeline. They also set modern day training requirements from de-escalation, reality-based training, mental health for our officers, peer intervention, banning chokeholds, right? We know the common sense items that our officers need to be trained to, and the things that we need to make sure aren't allowed in law anymore. So the bill is very much a comprehensive reform bill for law enforcement, gives them the tools on the front end to do a better job so that we don't have to get into these punitive measures on the back end that have the potential to be financially devastating.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ford. It's your recommendation then that not your recommendation, but you're asking us to not support House Bill 4.
Mayor, councilors, it's just, we can't just strictly rely on punitive measures on the back end. We need reform on the front end, and that's what we're asking for.
So how can we help you the best? Do you need a letter from our municipality? Do you need a proclamation? How could we best help you, Mr. Ford?
Mayor, councilors, what I'm finding has been just incredibly helpful is when you call your senators and your representatives in your communities and let them know how this hurts us and that we need more tools on the front end. That's where I've found in my conversations with the members, that's what's most impactful, hearing from all of you.
Very well. AJ, I've heard your last name pronounced a bunch of different ways. But I want to make certain I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. Is it Forte? Do you use the Forte or do you use Fort?
40, Mr. Mayor, 40.
40. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Forty. I appreciate your time with us tonight. And please call on us anytime something like this is happening. And thank you for your advocacy for municipalities.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Mr. Montoya? You're on mute.
I'm sorry. This Senate bill, the Civil Rights Act, would allow people to sue any public body, like the state or a city or county. And if that person feels like their civil rights were being violated under the municipal constitution, they can go after teachers, after policemen, after elected officials, and so on down the line. And a lot of municipalities and rural areas don't have that kind of insurance or funding to be able to support those. So I encourage that we vote against this and call our senators and representatives. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. Next order of business, Cassandra.
Mr. Mayor, our next presentation is by Maria Gilvery, Utilities Director. She's reporting on delinquent billing.
Thank you, Maria. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilors. So I want to give a quick informational presentation on our delinquencies that we currently are working with at City Utilities. So an overview, we have 7,500 accounts that we divide up over 4 cycles. And a delinquency per our ordinance, per city statute is, or city rules, is 60 days. A bill that has not been paid in over 60 days. This is more lenient than the state statute, which requires 20 days, which allows for 20 days before delinquency is addressed by a municipality. This time frame can go up to 80 or even 90 days, sometimes larger, based on, or sometimes more days, based on, are we working with the customer to try and address a particular situation? Is there weather conditions that keep us from disconnecting the customer? We don't disconnect on Fridays, so if their time frame happens to come up on a Friday, we will not disconnect until the Monday. So we are working with customers. We are also considering weekends and holidays as well to give a little bit of leniency towards the customers while we're working with them to address their delinquency. Out of the 7,500 at the beginning of a monthly cycle, about 13% are delinquent. They're past that 60 days, which is about 1,000 customers. We do contact the customers first. Their bill is their first notification that they're exceeding that 60 days. We will also send them a delinquency mailing. We will give them a call. In that delinquency letter that they get sent, they are informed of their total balance. They're also informed of the amount that they must pay to stay current. They're not required to pay the total balance. They're just required to pay enough to get below the 60 days. So if they're 2 or 3 months behind, if they're 3 or 4 months behind, then they only need to pay 1 or 2 months to catch back up. If we have reached out to them by the mailing, by sending a mailing, and they haven't contacted us, or we haven't been able to work with them, we will also contact them by phone. If we make contact with them by phone, then there's that communication between customer and staff. If we don't make contact by phone, our last resource is a door hanger to let them know that when their water will be cut off and why. So once the customers receive the notification, about 90% of them address the delinquency. Most customers wait until they're basically caught or basically told you must make a payment, and then about 90% of them address the delinquency. That last 10% actually comes out to about 100 customers, 80 to 100 customers in a month, which is 1.3% of our entire account base. Currently, one of the things we work with customers is if they are delinquent, they can either pay off the entire bill or we can set up a payment arrangement. Right now, we currently have 46 active payment arrangements. Sometimes the customers do not keep up with those payment arrangements. If they do not keep up with the arrangements, then they go back on the delinquency list. We do send them some notifications. And for that particular bill, that outstanding bill, they're not allowed to do another arrangement. If they fail that first arrangement, then they must settle up their debt before their water is restored. Or we do again have a little flexibility. Maybe they come in and let us know that there's a particular situation, and then they pay the bill or they get back on their arrangement, and we do work with them. Our goal is to keep everybody connected, not to disconnect. I want more customers, not less. If a customer does have a failed arrangement, does not make a payment, we reach out to them and we're trying to communicate with them and they're not communicating back. Once they've been on the delinquency list and once they've had a failed arrangement, then they have 1 week before their water is cut off. And again, there is notifications going on here. They've been informed of this, and they actually sign a contract when they make the payment arrangement. They sign to the agreement that they will stick to this payment arrangement, and they do understand the consequences if they don't keep to the payment arrangement. So right now, like I said, we have maybe about 100 customers or so by the time that the delinquency process has completed for a month cycle. So we're right now at the beginning of another month cycle. So we're dealing with about 1,000 accounts. But by the time the payment bill is due, for many of these customers, we'll be down to about 100 customers that we need to either work at a payment arrangement on, or they may have their services cut off. One thing I did want to address is gas. Between November 11th and March 15th, we do not disconnect customers from their gas service without extraordinary situation. And this is per state statute. So it's not just them not paying the bill. We have to go above and beyond to work with that customer to try and ensure that they keep their gas on during the wintertime, even if they're not paying their bill. It doesn't mean they get away with it. We'd have to reach out to them. We still give them delinquency letters. We work with them. We make agreements. We can make multiple agreements with customers when it comes to gas because it is, again, a very stringent requirements before we can disconnect somebody's gas service. And that's so the main thing I wanted to get out to the council today is we do have customers that are delinquent. approximately 1,000 right now. Again, by the time my staff communicate with them, we'll probably be down to about 100. And this is cyclical. So the next cycle will be back up again because people will continue to push paying their bills for 30 or 60, sometimes even 90 days. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Marie.
Yes, Counselor.
One, have you seen this increase given the COVID circumstances? And I was under the understanding that because of the COVID, that we were not cutting anybody's services off due to like unemployment, people losing their jobs. That has really affected a lot of people. So how has your policy changed pre-COVID versus post-COVID?
The city did previously give a little bit of leniency to customers when COVID started, but many customers started to, it appears they started to take advantage of that. And we did look into this. I did talk with the city attorney. I did look at the rules. We are allowed to disconnect, but again, we go above and beyond, Counselor. We don't want to disconnect them. We don't want anybody to not have water. But when it comes to after COVID, we had some people who were 6 months behind, and many of them actually came in. And once we held them accountable, they actually had the money and they just paid it.
Question, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Montoya.
Yes. Yeah, are we, our staff, directing any customers for other program assistance from other agencies?
Yes, Counselor, thank you
Are we
for
giving
reminding
them
me
that
about
information?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for reminding me about that. We do work with the ratings from LIHEAP for assistance when it comes to gas or heating. We also try and put the customer in contact with the help office or with a local charity or church community. We do reach out to these customers and try and give them alternatives to help with their particular situation.
Okay. And the other follow-up question to that was, I understand, and well, I know that PNM has a Good Neighbor Love Fund to assist individuals with low income or they can't afford their electrical bills. And do we have something like that, or are we in the works on creating a fund, a Love Your Neighbor, for instance, fund to help people that are in need?
Mr. Montoya, if you don't mind, I could take a stab at that. Bill Taylor and I, and Mr. Romero a while back talked about rejoining the efforts of creating that fund again, where people would add $1 to their bill, or they would, we would have donations and set up a fund for people who are having trouble. So it's just a matter of getting it back up and running.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, that's something that we'd really like to do. And Maria and Mr. Taylor, maybe we can talk a little bit more about it and see if we can set up that fund as soon as possible. Thank you. And yet, Mr. Romero?
Maria, I had a question pertaining to, because if I remember correctly, there was an executive order by the previous interim mayor, that prevented some of these cutoffs. When did it change to where now that we were going after, if they didn't pay, then we started, going through the process and doing that? At what time did that change?
I understand when Mayor Trujillo came in, the policy changed and those executive orders from the previous mayor were rescinded. We did continue to work with customers, so we did give them a lot more leniency. But I believe that particular executive order from the previous mayor was rescinded when Mayor Trujillo took office.
Okay, so my question is so what procedures are we following? Is there a set procedure that we're giving them 4 months extra? What procedures are we following? Or are we just, each situation is different? Because we should have a standard.
So we're following the ordinance when it comes to the 60 days. After that, and it's in the ordinance where we do everything we can to work with the customers. And it's not a set number of days past the 60 days. It's do everything we can to work with customers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Romero.
I have a question, Maria. What do you do with the customers that they say they close the utilities and they don't open up for 5-6 months? Do you go after them?
Sorry,
they don't
Counselor.
open up the utilities again.
Sorry, Counselor, could you ask that one more time, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, let me turn my volume up a little bit. Go ahead, Counselor.
What I'm saying is, what do you do with the customers that are not paying the bills and they shut down their utilities and they never open their utilities again? What are we doing about that?
So we have a collections clerk who is currently working on locating these customers, holding them accountable at their new location. They will not get another account in the city until they settle their previous account, but some of these customers do leave the city or the state, and we have a collections clerk who is working on reaching back out to those customers no matter where they live and collecting on past debts.
Thank you, Maria.
Yes, Counselor.
I do have a comment, for the listening public, and I know that this is very truthful, is that we go above and beyond to work with people in situations. There's some really bad feedback on a microphone. Could you move your... Can you hear me? Okay. We do go above and beyond to work with our customers, and that's one thing that's so important to let the public know, is that all it takes is a phone call. Call the utility center, tell them I can't make my bill this month, or can I help you? Can you help me with my bill? And more than likely, they will help you with their bill. They go beyond, over and back to meet the customer's needs, and that's what I really want to stress today, is that this is about customer service. So if you are behind on your bills, make that call. We'll work with you. We're very sympathetic. We understand people sometimes are in bad situations and whatever. But the city of Las Vegas will work with you to get your bills up to date. So, and thank you for everything, Maria.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilors.
Thank you. Next item.
Mr. Mayor, a finance report. We have Jesus Baqueta, our finance director.
Welcome, Mr. Baqueta.
Mayor, Council, this report is for January 2021. Revenues in the general fund were at 70%. Expenditures in the general fund were at 50%. Leaves us a surplus of a little over $1 million. The enterprise fund, revenues were at 54%. Expenditures were at 45%. Has a surplus of $346,988. The rec center revenue was at 52%, expenditures at 44%. The surplus was at $16,233. And lodgers tax revenue was at 177%, expenditures at 25%. Surplus at $133,395.
Mr. Baqueta?
Yes, sir.
The question I always will ask you in public, is there anything on this report that you need to let the city council and our city manager know about?
No, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Baqueta? You're on mute.
I try and not breathe on everybody, so I put it on mute. Mr. Vaquera, the $70,000 that we received for the recreation department for the little leagues, where is that reflected on this budget?
I don't see it on there. I'd have to research it and let you know.
Okay. And we're within the projections of what we appropriated for that, right? For this year, even though we've been closed most of the time due to COVID.
Yes, that's all in our actuals.
Yeah.
Um,
And then I just wanted to spend a minute, Mr. Mayor, because I know that in our last meeting we had a full agenda on our plate, and Mr. Vaquera's waiting. I apologize for not being able to discuss your finance report last council meeting, but it is very important that it was a $750,000 budget adjustment requested also by Councilman Romero to do a mid-year adjustments. And I just want to go through the list a little bit, Mr. Mayor, and explain to the viewing public what that $750,000 meant. And $60,000 went towards the fire department. This was salary increases. Also, the police department, we adjusted our budget by $50,000, and that was for the 10K animal control positions that we hired. Also, due to the COVID hazardous pay, we adjusted our budget $46,000. That was $100 per month for 11 months for 42 employees. And we went and bought a street sweeper that we had to adjust our budget for $135,000. Also, we bought some books for the library, $3,000 worth of books. And the museum, we also added some computers and hardware drives and video cameras, projectors and screens, and replacing old stuff that had been there for a long time. And we utilized $9,000. And in public works, we adjusted the budget by $45,000 also for buying computers and printers. Small John Deere lawnmower with blades attachments, pretty badly needed because that department is always kind of left out. The police department, we added $67,000 in law enforcement protections loans for 3 cars equipped with radios and the whole service. And then we had the recreation center that we also purchased a $30,000 scissor lift for them to exchange the light bulbs. And we no longer will be utilizing New Mexico Highlands University because we were always having to borrow. And we thank them for lending us their lift all the years that they did. And in our parks, irrigation systems and freshwater, influent water connections, we adjusted it by $60,000. So these are just a few of the changes that the mayor and council and the staff did in order to make sure that our city is taken care of. And I thank you for that time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. Any more questions? Next order of business, please. Business item number 1.
Mr. Mayor, business item number 1 is I am requesting to publish ordinance number 21-02. This is an ordinance granting to Public Service Company of New Mexico, which is PNM, a New Mexico corporation, a franchise to furnish electricity within the city of Las Vegas, San Miguel County, New Mexico, and granting to PNM the right to use any public highway, street, alley, road, or other public place within the present or future municipal limits of the city of Las Vegas. I have Ms. Jamie Aranda, who is with us, and she's here to help us answer any questions that we might have. I'll just add that PNM has reviewed and approved the proposed franchise agreement. The franchise fee will remain at 3% for a term of 20 years. The effective date of the ordinance 2102 would be at least 30 days after it's adopted in accordance with statute. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Romero?
Jamie, Councilor Romero, how are you? Thanks for joining us here. I had a question.
Mr. Mayor, hi,
As far as the 3%, is that typical for every community?
So it is typical. It's actually more typical recently. Santa Fe in the last few years went up to the 3% as well as other communities. It is a cap. Communities cannot exceed the 3%.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya?
I'm not unmuted this time. Hello, Ms. Aranda. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you, Counselor.
I just want to really thank you. You're the liaison for the northern part of the state for PNM, and I want to thank you for taking care of those outages that we had this last week. I know it's difficult during those storms. I want to thank Ms. Aranda because PNM has been a good person to partnering with us. They are partnering with us in other areas in city government. And I also want to thank PNM because they have been assisting during this COVID-19 to all customers with their electric bills. And Mr. Mayor, if there's no other objection or discussion, I'd like to request to publish ordinance number 21-02, an ordinance to grant public service company in New Mexico.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I second that.
There's a motion by Mr. Montoya, second by Mr. Romero. Roll call, please.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. And
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, just to let you know, we will bring this franchise agreement back to the council with intent to adopt at our next meeting in March.
Very well.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Again, I would just like to echo Mr. Montoya's sentiment. You do a great job at keeping us informed, Jamie, and coming to our community. And I don't think we've ever had that from PNM. And we just welcome you always to Las Vegas. And let us know when you're in town again, and I'll buy you a taco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I look forward to it.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you, Jamie.
Bye-bye. Next order of business, please.
Mr. Mayor, the next order is item 2, and I'm requesting to publish ordinance number 21-03. This is an ordinance to grant the Mora San Miguel Electric Co-op Incorporated in New Mexico Corporation a franchise to furnish electricity within the city of Las Vegas, San Miguel County, New Mexico, and granting to the co-op the right to use any public highway, street, alley, road, or other public place within the present or future municipal limits of the city. This proposed franchise agreement was reviewed and approved by the Board of Trustees for Mora San Miguel Electric Co-op. The franchise fee will increase from 2 to 3% for a term of 25 years. And with this one as well, the effective date would be at least 30 days after it's adopted in accordance with the statute. And we have Mr. Les Montoya, who is the General Manager for Mora San Miguel Co-op. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Montoya.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Where's Mr. Montoya? Mr. Montoya, one of our city managers in the past, did a fantastic job for the city. Thank you, Les, for your service to our community. And I'm happy to see you're working with another great company. So welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight, Les.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I just want to mention regarding this particular franchise agreement. Number one, we're updating the status of the franchise agreement with the city of Las Vegas based on the fact that the franchise agreement had been way overdue in terms of renewal. So we thought that was important to get that done. Number one, to hold up to our responsibility. And number two, to keep the government that we serve, the area that we serve, informed of what's going on. The other point is that the recommendation from the city was to increase it to 3%. Originally, the old agreement was at 2%. I just want to point out that that 3% is attached to the bill of the consumer within the city of Las Vegas. It's a 3% franchise fee that the consumer in the city of Las Vegas would see directly. And then we roughly have about, I'm going to say roughly about 60 to 65 customers that we serve within the city of Las Vegas, primarily on the eastern side of the city. And that represents probably just over 1% of our total customer base, based on the fact that we serve within the San Miguel County area, the Mora County area, the Guadalupe County area, and a part of Santa Fe County area as well. We have 11,000, roughly over 11,350 some odd customers on our distribution service throughout those counties.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mayor, I just had one question, and maybe Jesus could answer this. Jesus, how often are these franchise fees paid to the city, or is it P&M and San Miguel Co-op that send checks to us, or how's that done?
From what I can tell, it's done once a year.
Once a year?
Yes.
And I mean, you probably wouldn't have this information right offhand, but would you get us information as to what it's generated in the past?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
To answer Mr. Romero's question, it's a 900, this 1% is going to be a $900 annual increase. So it would be $1,800 annually that we receive from them. And this would be a term for 25 years. And Mr. Mayor, I would like to note that the staff, our city attorney and our city manager, I want to thank them for this increase. And this way, we're the same thing as P&M, 3% on each one of them. So it makes it a lot more simpler years from now down the road. And Mr. Montoya, the longest serving city manager of the city of Las Vegas, 18 plus years. Nice to see you. And thanks for the good job.
Good to see you, Mr. Montoya.
Mr. Ulibarri, did you have a?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, to approve ordinance 21-03.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion by Councilor Ulibarri, second by Councilor Montoya. Roll call, please.
And Mr. Mayor, just for the record, that was ordinance 21-02.
Oh, okay.
Councilor Romero?
And also, Mr. Mayor, it's for publication, not adoption of the ordinance. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Montoya?
Correction, Madam Clerk, we have it as number 03. Number 2 was
Oh,
P&M.
I'm sorry. That's my mistake. 03 is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Yes.
And Councilor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Ulibarri Jr., a second by Councilor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Montoya. Come by and see us sometime.
You bet. Can I make one more suggestion?
Nope, your time's up, sir. No, I'm not. You go ahead.
It will benefit your residents. I know, I live in Las Vegas, obviously, been here all my life. Worked with the city and know the details with regards to the street lights. Those street lights, there's a lot of street lights in Las Vegas that are not illuminating. And all you need to do is call P&M, give them the address, and advise them to reset that particular street light. You pay for each one of those street lights every month. I remember back in my day, it was about $8.46 a month for each street light, whether that light was burning or not. So you're paying for street lights that are not operating at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. And Mr. Taylor, Dr. Taylor, can I ask you to meet with the city police and with Public Works to see how we can address, get an inventory of those street lights that are out. And if that can happen as soon as possible, that would be great.
And Mr. Mayor, we are working on that. We've identified a number of lights getting them fixed. We have to figure out which one are city lights and which ones are P&M lights. But we're working on getting those addressed as quickly as possible.
Okay, are they actively giving you a list as they go? Are the police involved?
Danny Goudelet is keeping a list over at Public Works, and I've talked to the chief of police and asked him that when they see a street light out, that they tell us about it. And so, you know, but I think that.
Could you do me a favor and give a directive to Adrian to make a list of all the streetlights that are out within the next week?
Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Montoya.
Thank you, guys.
If you come to town, I'll buy you a taco.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. See you later, Les.
See you later.
The mayor's giving a lot of tacos, right, Mayor?
Just one, though. Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Business item number 3 is request approval of Lodgers Tax Board recommendation of additional funding of the wayfinding project to support completing phase 1 for 15 signs in the amount of $11,000. We have our community development director, Bill Hendrickson, and this is an item that was continued from our last meeting.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Mr. Mayor, Council. First, I want to talk about the procurement, but I also like to follow up and brief council a little bit on the project on lodgers tax, specifically related to this project. I think maybe some people on some of the council and maybe the public have not seen what the design looks like, and I'll go over that as well. Also, I'd like to let council know that Crew Tech Bacta is on board here, and if we have any questions to the chair of the Lodgers Tax Board, he'd be more than happy to answer. I did meet with Councilman Romero to discuss the procurement process and advised him that we did have 4 put out requests for quotes, and we had one person, a local person, reply that they could not do the project. And we did have one quote for $71,000. And during the process, since we got that quote, we worked with our Public Works to see what kind of work we can do here locally. And we were able to get that price reduced down to the mid to high $50,000 to be able to do that. And the additional request of the $11,000 that we're talking about tonight was to cover what we were anticipating was sales tax that was going to take us at a higher rate. But we found out subsequently, after we made the request, that sales tax isn't required on what we're purchasing here for the manufacturing. So we still have priced somewhere around $50,000. But we were anticipating to have the project installed by us, and Public Works has suggested that they don't have the expertise to do the rebar and stuff that's going to be required in the footings. So we're going to have to go out for bid to, or use one of the Public Works contractors who's going to do some contract work for them, concrete work, and get them to give us an estimate on what it's going to cost to put these signs in. So that's about where we are right now. We do have we're trying to get a meeting with the architects to discuss specific locations, because some things have changed from the original design. But that's kind of secondary to where we are as far as pricing goes. I do want to make a couple points and just remind council that this project specifically is in both our comp plan and our MRA as being a high priority item for the community. And I know there was some discussions about signs in other places. I want council to think about this as a phase 1 project, which was originally the focus on getting people to the plaza and Bridge Street. And there is no reason why after we do this, we cannot start thinking about where else do we want to direct people into our community. But we have to remember that if we're going to be using lodgers tax money, this has to be a tourism related decision. and we have to justify it by using it for those type of things. And we call it heads in beds and you know, whatever. But it has to have some feature of tourism involved in it. So this is very important to us. I mean, it's the rules we follow through lodger's tax. Just about every request comes by that we have this discussion. And this project has been in motion for quite a few years. And I'm going to show you the designs which were approved, I think, in July of 2019. And the architect is probably on board, probably as far back as 2018. So I want to go ahead and show this. Okay, these are the samples of all the signs that are in this project, the 15 signs. They go all the way from the ones on the left, which are large. And if you look at the silhouettes on the right-hand side of the screen, it gives you an idea of how tall they are and how wide they are. The project went through a lot of public meetings about what they should look like, what should the colors be, and so forth. I was not here when this happened, but I think whatever the decisions were, this was it. And I personally think it's eye-catching on the way they look. I can zoom in a little bit if you can't really see it that well, and get a feel for, you know, the signs, you know, displaying our historic Las Vegas, 1835, and the colors and so forth. So this is what this project is all about, to get these signs fabricated and installed. If
Thank
there's
you,
any other questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Hendrickson, I would just like to recognize Kutek Bakta. Welcome, Kutek, and thank you for being with us tonight from the Lodgers Tax Board. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening,
thank you,
Mr. Mayor and Council.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
Yeah. The reason we tabled this item the last time is because we didn't have enough information, Mr. Hendrickson. And in today's meeting on our packets, we have everything that happened from 2010 to today. And every month broken down as to where this fundings went. And this is what we need for, as far as Mayor and Council. We want accountability, and we want to know where this money is being spent. And according to the Lodgers Tax Charter 389, Mayor and Council on 389-17, contacting for services, we have the obligation to ask how this money is being spent and the accountability that comes with it. Now, Mr. Hendrickson, is this phase one out of how many?
We haven't gone into the phase two part of it. We spent all our time on the phase one to try to get that rolling. There are been discussions to have other different types of signs, maybe something crossing some of the roads with an arch view on it as well. But that would have to be, put into plan.
Okay. The other concern that I had, Mr. Hendrickson, is that, this money is supposed to be used for tourism. Now, we have a Fort Union Drive-In Theater here, which is probably one of 40 in the country or in the United States. I don't know. But anyway, they have a lot of events, and if somebody comes into town, there's no sign directing them where the Fort Union Drive-In Theater's at. And that theater generates more money for this Lodgers tax, because those people come from Albuquerque and everywhere to come and stay in the motels, go out to dinner, and then they go to the drive-in, and they stay overnight. And we need to include them in part of this advertisement. And probably so on other areas, United World College and so forth. But I would say that we need to extend from just point A to point B, being the Castaneda, to the plaza. And I understand the logic behind Lodgers tax and helping all our businesses downtown and so forth. But there's other motels in other wards that contribute to this lodger's tax. And some of that money should be spent on those areas also. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is for the
Mr.
record, is Fort Union Drive-In in the city limits?
No.
It's in the county. But with the COVID monies, Mr. Mayor, COVID-19 monies, we even helped Pandaray Golf Course. And they're out in Mora County or San Miguel County. But, you know, we need to be fair with everybody. And these people have worked hard and invested in our community also. And I think that we owe it to them that I know some organizations complained because they were on a billboard advertising Las Vegas, that they shouldn't be on that billboard. And that's not right. I think we ought to be fair with everybody. And also, Mr. Hendrickson, one last question for you. The $52,000 that we approved already, where did that?
It hasn't gone anywhere.
What's that?
It has not gone anywhere. It's just set aside, waiting for us to make a final decision on the manufacturing of the signs.
Okay, because that's one thing that we're going to follow the pattern of the legislature. If that money hasn't been spent, then we're not going to be approving no more fundings. We need to make sure that that funding, $52,000, is spent and it's accounted for before we start applying more monies into that big pile. And that should be with any organization that comes before mayor and council. We need to be accountable for taxpayers' money and lodgers' tax money. I'm sure that lodgers' tax are very careful with their monies and the way they appropriate them. And we're responsible. According to this contract of service on the lodgers' tax, we are responsible and we need updates. And I appreciate this update that you gave us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bacta, did you have a comment, sir?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, for this signage, we've been working on it for a while now. The board's been monitoring it, and some of the same questions you have, we had. So if you go over our meetings, you know, it's the same questions. Now, the delays we've had are obvious. I mean, right now it's COVID. And for prior things, we're working on simple stuff as signage. I mean, some of the signs we were trying to plan, we'd have to work with the state for, or it's in front of the bridge. But we really wanted to go for it. And we need to look at the big picture here for the resources that we have. So that's accountability. So what can we do to start with? This was the start. So in most other towns that have well-established downtowns and tourism areas, there's good signage. So we needed to start somewhere. That didn't mean that we weren't going to put signs anywhere else. This was going to be a good example, and I really hope it gets done. This was going to be a good example of how we could probably spread it to the rest of town, and this would be great for our city. But we need to have that start. Phase 2 doesn't even get thought of if we can't get it phase 1 accomplished. And it would be a shame if we let this fall apart now, because we've been planning it for a long time. My hotels aren't downtown. My hotels are well, but if I just thought of myself and not the big picture, then we wouldn't get some of these core things happening. My hope is that we're able to use this project and grow it, and it would benefit the entire community.
Thank you, Mr. Bacta.
Mr.
Montoya.
Yeah, one last comment from me on this issue. I'm glad you clarified that, because the last time I asked about this, they told me that the rest of the community, the rest of the city, not qualify for any kind of funding for signage. And I'm glad you clarified that it does. And I encourage you to help like our Little League programs and like the musicians. The musicians at this point during this COVID, nobody has extended a hand to them. And a lot of them, that's their livelihood. But there's other organizations and other places that we can, lodgers tax can also focus on assisting. But I thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Councilman Montoya, I mean, the musicians is a good example. And look, a lot of the times they're playing in the plaza. So good signage for if I need to direct them from the hotels or if they come in, going to events in the plaza and so on, good signage would be benefit to them. The reminder would be is that we have criteria of what is a good example for largest tax funds, and then mainly focuses around tourism and bringing that in. And one of the main focuses is that we want to continue to grow this money. And if we can grow this money, that's more money we can put into the community.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Bakta. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero.
Mr. Mayor, Bill Hendrickson, I have a question. Earlier when I spoke to you, you had said that the scope, the material of the sign would be cast, but I'm looking at the, if we go to the proposals from Garnet Signs, all they are is aluminum signs, so I don't really see, what the specialty is, and I think Councilor Montoya might be able to vouch for this, is Sandbar does, Councilor Montoya, Sandbar does have a contract with the state that also does signs, right?
Yes.
So I believe that there's other companies, I know you probably didn't go through it. I'm in total agreement of the wayfindings. I support that, but again, a question, the process again on the way we did some of these quotes. There was one individual from J&M Signs that I read an email that it says, we would love to bid on the fabrication and installation of this project. How do we get detailed designs to bid from? And I don't know if we ever emailed him back because that's not in here. So my suggestion is that we approve the additional funding. But what I would suggest in that is that because it is going to be over 60,000, which that's required an RFP, but I would suggest that we RFP this signage out.
We can certainly look at Sandbar. I wasn't aware then, or I'll have to ask the questions about that as well. So there's no issue not to check that out.
So with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the additional funding with the conditions that either we RFP because it's over 60,000, or we go with the CES vendor in which we don't have to RFP. And that will be my motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Second discussion. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, can I have that motion read again, please?
Okay, so I totally support the wayfindings idea. The question that I have again is if we go ahead and increase the additional 11,000 that's requested, that throws us into over 60,000, which under procurement, you're supposed to RFP that. So my suggestion, if we're going to approve this funding, I suggest that we either go through CES or we do an RFP in order to meet the procurement legalities.
So what happens to the company that from Colorado that that got this bid?
No, they haven't gotten it yet. I mean, to me, if we go with them, yes, we got the quotes, but I see one email here, and that's in your packet. It's from J&M that he says, we would love to bid on the fabrication, and they wanted details. So I don't know if that was ever responded to or not. To me, I just see, we can't just focus on this one company and give everybody a fair chance. And if they don't, well, at least we follow the process.
I'm pretty sure that we sent the bid set out to the 4 companies that we have in the bid set there.
And also, Mr. Hendrickson, the contractor that's doing the signage over here for the DOT on Grand and Legion, welcoming to Las Vegas sign, and the one down south, I believe those were done by local, that concrete work was all done by local contractors. But Mr. Romero, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilor Rodriguez? Councilor Rodriguez?
she left the meeting for some reason.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.,
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Next order of business is item number 4, request approval of the preliminary plan to modify city property located adjacent to business parking lot on Douglas for public parking. We have Bill Hendrickson, Community Development Director.
Bill, go ahead. Thank you.
Council and Mr. Mayor, I've got Carlos Lopez is on board here as well to answer any questions that we have or you would have on this project. I'll put up the plans. Basically, there is city property that abuts on Douglas Avenue, abuts the new Buffalo Hall building and parking lot that's going in. And Mr. Lopez would like to use part of that property to create more parking, and it'd be public parking. It won't be private parking. But I'll show you the pictures here so you can get an idea of what we're talking about.
For those of you who don't know where it is, it's Marianne's Burrito. Catty corner from the Alfidel.
So if everybody can see this picture, Douglas Avenue is at the top of the drawings, and where you see that automobile on the left being parked, that area right now is a little bit of dirt and majority of it is concrete. As you go over to the left, where you see the curb end, it turns into a driveway all the way over to the right. The 2 parking spaces that are on the right-hand side of the drawing, which abuts the alleyway of the property, that is right now just overgrown weeds and grass. And Mr. Lopez would like to turn this into parking, so it would be additional parking for his business, but it'd also be public parking because it'd be on the street and it would be city property. It would stay city property, and it would be at no cost to the city.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrickson, and thank you, Mr. Lopez, for your interest in improving our downtown area and taking on the remodel of that building. And it's an exciting project. Would you like to say anything, Mr. Lopez? I don't know if he's able to talk. I mean, speak over the...
Can you hear me, Mayor?
Hi, Mr. Lopez. Hi, Carlos. This is Louis. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hi. Good. Well, thank you for having me, Mayor. Bien, and Councilman, thank you for having me.
Sure thing.
Just like Bill indicated, we're in an area, and that's the reason why we bought the old Marianne's Burritos, because of the large lot to create parking for that development that we're working on. And with that, we very quickly realized there's a big lost space there, just a huge a sidewalk, and like Bill said, it's in bad shape. It's broken up concrete and dirt and so on. And I measured it out and came to the conclusion that it could be some very good parking, not only for our business, but public parking for the city of Las Vegas. So I called Bill and said, maybe we can do a trade-off here. I can pay for all the improvements, meet all city standards, ADA requirements, and so on. And that's what the plan is that we're presenting here, and improve this area that's really non-utilized at this point. So.
Yeah, I walked that area the other day just on a walk, and I was surprised at how junky it looks. For being a city lot, it's overgrown with trees and, like you said, broken sidewalks and so forth. So, does anybody have any questions, comments? Mr. Montoya, go ahead, please. Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Hendrickson, I would like to do a second request of your department to make sure that we get materials that we can read. The diagram is better on the computer, where it's readable, than the copy that we have on our pages. It's hard to make determinations when you can't read you can't see what you're reading. Mr. Lopez, congratulations. I believe you're bringing in a new bank to our community on Legion and 7th.
Yeah, well, yeah, we sold them the land there, and the Guadalupe Credit Union's coming in. Yes.
Thank you. Now,
Sure.
the only questions I had on this is that sidewalk going to align with the rest of the sidewalk on the other side of the alley, going east?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It does align. Yes, it does.
Oh, okay. So, Mr. Mayor, I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I had one question.
Mr. Romero, go ahead.
So is there some type, and that wasn't in our packet, but is there some type of MOU, MOA, or some contract that we'd be signing, that we'd have this agreement in place, or how are we doing that? We just can't say yes, and there has to be some type of memorandum of understanding.
Well, then we can request that the attorney come up with some kind of agreement that's amenable to both parties. Is that okay, Mr. Aaron?
Questions of Mr. Mayor and Councilman Romero. You are correct. I think we will need to have a memorandum of understanding, because there's going to be some questions about who's going to do maintenance and paint the lines and things like that, and we probably need to clarify that. I have also reviewed this with Public Works, and once we get everything in order, they will provide a project manager to oversee this part of the project for the city.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya?
I'm sorry, I came up with another question. What about utilities in that area? This map, we can't see this map, so it's like looking at nothing. But is there any utilities that we would be digging up, like water or anything in that area in the future that need to be done prior to that on the behalf of the city?
We'll have to get a review from utilities on if there's anything in that location.
Okay, and then
this is off street. This is off street. At what you see right now is basically off street. It's all concrete, driveway, and dirt.
Yeah, but normally that's where our utilities run through most of the time. But the other question I had is on a follow-up for the future, Mr. Hendrickson, can we try and include on the ICIP plan to continue this pattern all the way to the end of the block past the alley?
We'll have to take a look at that. We're getting into sidewalk that's in front of the buildings there. So, we can certainly take a look at it, I suppose.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
I make a motion that we approve the use of the city property with the conditions that an MOU will be developed by the city attorney and agreed by both parties.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilor Olivari Jr.,
Yes.
Councilor Montoya,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
I'm gonna abstain because I was kicked out of the video, so I missed a lot of the presentation. And I don't want to vote without the clarity of that.
certainly. Councilor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Romero, a second by Councilor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lopez, are you still with us?
I'm here, Mayor. Thank you.
Can you give us a nutshell explanation as to what that business is going to be?
Well, a nutshell, yeah, I'll try.
Okay.
Well, the first intent that I had was to stabilize the building and clean it up. That was the intent of which we've done. And then I had a problem with a big gaping hole in the front of the building. So I thought of what kind of facade we can build on such a large building. It's about 76 feet span on the front side. And I found that old Buffalo Hall picture that used to be where the city police station's at. It was in the 1800s. It was called the Buffalo Hall, and it lent itself to a perfect facade for this large building. So that's what we built. So we sort of resurrected an old building in a new location in Las Vegas and gave it the same name, Buffalo Hall. So we're right now, that's the intent. We did buy the old Mary Ann's. Again, we needed the parking. So the idea is to refurbish the old Mary Ann's back to a restaurant and the Buffalo Hall into some kind of a gaming event for the youth, for Highlands, and maybe come in with a brewery concept or a bar concept there for events. So right now, that's what we're working with. I'm sure this project will come before you as we move forward with it. So.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Congratulations, and thank you for making Las Vegas look beautiful.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Next order of business.
Mr. Mayor, item number 5, request approval for modifying, moving, removing the planted islands that now exist within the depot parking lot. We have Mr. Bill Hendrickson, our Community Development Director.
Mayor and Council, just give you a little information. We've been working on the Great Blocks project, and this is the renovation of Lincoln between Grand and Railroad, and also included the entrance, just the entranceway to the depot with bump outs, which would basically force the traffic into the center of the roads, both on Railroad and on Lincoln. That's the concept behind it, to have the bump outs. Plus it extends the sidewalks out a little bit further into the roadway so people can have an island to stand on. So during this process of having the architects come here and we're discussing electrical and everything else, we realized that the bump outs for the entranceway and the depot affected the parking. And so that's why I'm here tonight, is to basically give you a couple concepts that have been proposed. This wasn't part of the planning on doing the Great Blocks, but in order to finalize that project and come up with the final design, we have to make a decision on what are we going to do with the depot. And I want to show you a few things here. And I'm not sure, again, kind of like wayfinding, what anybody has on council has seen as far as the Great Blocks project. So let me just show that to you really quickly. So this is the concept that we're working on right now, is a section between Grand, which is at the top here, and that's part of Grand crossing the Grand, which is another phase at some point in time, but not during this project. And it's all along down Lincoln till you get to the Railroad, and then you see the bump outs on either side of Railroad, including the entranceway to the parking lot of the depot. As you can see, there's no discussion as far as what goes on in the parking lot. It didn't go beyond that. And I'll show you the next one. Yeah, let's see. So this may be a little bit difficult. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. This is one of the concepts with the bump outs. You can see the 2 bump outs on either side of the parking lot. And what this suggestion is, if we go ahead and move right now, this island that you see at the top of the parking spaces is in the sidewalk, in between the two sidewalks. So that island has to be removed and could be repositioned, let's say, but we lose a lot of parking spaces. Right now, there's 10 parking spaces between those two islands. There's one island here, and then this island, which is close to the depot. There's 10 parking spaces, and you can see we're down to about 8. We lose a couple parking spaces by moving that island. But one of the concepts that I'm kind of interested in is to increase the parking, and that's this other one. And I think this is it here. And that's this look here. This does a couple things. It puts all the travel in and out of the depot in the middle. It's a little bit easier for our buses, which come out from the lower left and come in and around and into the middle of the parking area. This at this point in time, even the way it's situated, they have to navigate around those islands. So I'm looking at this. I've talked to Public Works. It's possible that they can do the removing of the islands, and we'd have to replace it with either concrete or asphalt to do that. But we can also increase, by doing it this way, we can also increase the parking down the wall that's between the depot and P&M. So I was kind of at a loss of how to proceed without having some options to give to the architects and the planners to, how do we proceed on doing the project with break blocks, and at the same time, what do we do with the railroad parking issue, which we're going to interrupt one way or the other if we put the bump outs there. We talked about removing the bump outs, and the architects really felt that would create an odd looking approach down railroad on either side, as far as having bump outs on one side and not on the other could possibly cause some error in judgment in driving through that area. So their suggestion was to go through with the bump outs, and then of course obviously that impacted the railroad parking. So
Bill,
thank you. I'll open for questions. Go ahead, Dr. Rodriguez.
So between picture 1 and picture 2, the difference is you're going to be taking out the islands, right? Which would allow for additional parking, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
And also adding a sidewalk, correct? Because
the sidewalk would be in there either way.
Okay.
The one right at the street, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not shown on the first one. That's why I wanted to make sure. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Sir, Mr. Montoya, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Hendrickson, what's the cost of this project?
The whole Great Blocks project is a little over $600,000.
600,000.
That's the estimate. Yes.
Does that include from Grand to the train depot, or?
It's from Grand to the entranceway to the depot. Those.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve.
Thank
Great
you.
Long plan for Lincoln Avenue and Roll Road, including construction and bump outs for the sidewalks depot entrance.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Councilor Rodriguez?
I say yes to concept 1. They're showing 2 different concepts. It's concept 1.
Councilor Romero?
So just
Councilor Romero?
clarification, Councilor Montoya, which concept is you? I mean,
Whatever works best to allow those 12 to allow those 12 parking spaces
Okay.
Council, that is concept number one that has the islands removed and the additional parking.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya. Did you say yes, or did I call your?
Didn't call me, but I'll say yes.
Councilor Libari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Libari Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Cassandra. Next order of business.
Next order is item number 6. This is request approval of resolution number 21-03, applying for and assuring matching funds for the municipal arterial program grant for a total amount of $700,000. We have Danny Goudelet, our Public Works Manager, presenting.
Mayor, Council, I'm here seeking approval of resolution number 2103, assuring matching funds and applying for the MAP grant for Mountain View in the amount of 700,000. Our match would be 175, which is 25%. I will be applying for the match waiver on this. The reason I applied for so much is I'm hoping this year there's a lot of funds out there for road projects, and this should finish off the Mountain View project. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Goudelet, and thank you for being with us tonight. And I'd like to recognize you and your group and all the city employees helping to get the road. While we've been here, it snowed 5 inches, and I just saw a truck leave the yard, so they're working around the clock. And thank you so much for helping keep our roads clean and our citizens safe.
Thank you. I'll let our employees know.
Thank you, and I'll open it up for discussion. Anybody? Thank you. Who wants to go? Mr. David? Mr. Romero?
So Danny, so with this funding, from what point to what point will this funding help with?
So right now, we're at Longview, which we are finishing off now with the previous grant we have. I did receive an additional 400,000 for this project. So with this additional funds that I'm applying for, this should finish off the Mountain View from, I want to say from Collins maybe to New Mexico. I mean to 7th Street.
It's Moreland.
Yeah, Moreland. There you go.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Montoya.
You know, Mr. Goudelet, thank you for applying for this kind of funding, because this is very important to us. And now that this funding comes from federal government and matching community rural communities, and this comes through the New Mexico Department of Transportation. And for us to just pay 25% of this project, which is 175,000, and they're putting in the 525,000, you know, they're assisting us. And this is the way we were able to do the first MAP funding on Legion Drive when the hospital came in. Otherwise, we would have never had a hospital in our community. So if there's no other discussion, I would move that we approve this, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya. Second, please. Second by Dr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Libari Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Sure. Next order of business.
Business item number 7, award request for bids number 2021-12 for the wastewater treatment plant utility truck to Nespo LLC. We have Maria Gilbery, our utility director.
Welcome, Maria. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilors, in early January, the city advertised in the Optic, the Journal, and on the city's website for a vehicle that wastewater can lift out, remove, and maintain the pumps that we have around town for our wastewater system. This will allow us to do work locally instead of having to potentially hire a contractor to do this kind of work. So this will be a great asset to the wastewater plant in maintaining their pumps throughout the community and on the wastewater facility. We did receive 4 bidders. As you can see in your package, there's Nesco, Larry Miller, Ford, Phil Long, Ford, and Rich Ford. The lowest bidder was Nesco. They are out of Indiana. This price does include shipping. So this is the bottom line price for the vehicle to get to Las Vegas. So because it was a bid, we do go with the lowest bidder. And they are committing to get us this vehicle before the end of the fiscal year, because this is in this year's budget for this piece of equipment. And I will stand for, the warranty. Warranty on this piece of equipment is, the basic is 3 years, but powertrain and roadside and diesel engine, roadside and corrosion is all 5 years, is a 5-year warranty.
Thank you. Any discussion? What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, just one question.
Mr. Romero?
So when we get this vehicle, it doesn't have to sit parked in a garage or anything that we have to get trained on at their convenience, even though we purchase it?
Not this piece of equipment, Counselor. It is a service truck with winches on it, and our staff are fully trained to operate it.
Okay, thank you.
What's the pleasure of the council? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to award request for bids 2021-12 for solid wastewater treatment plant utility truck to Nesco LLC.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last business item is business item number 8. This is request the creation of a business advisory committee. And this is your item, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Cassandra. Well, I had promised the business community that we would give them a better voice on issues that affect them. So I'm asking the council to approve the creation of an advisory committee made up of business people in town that would advise the council on issues that affect us. I'll give you an example of the filming, for example, or the movie industry, the paving of the Bridge Street areas, anything that's going to affect their business. And I'd like to see if the council would support the creation of a business advisory committee.
I guess the 4th of July fiestas will be included in that.
I'm sure anything that affects, yeah. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I would be in favor on something like this, but I would have to make sure that every ward would be equally represented, because I have 40 businesses in my ward and not too much representation.
All right, if you can give me a couple of names for the advisory committee, I'd be happy to consider them.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
Also, Mr. Mayor, if we can, I totally support this idea. The only thing is, and we need to make sure that we do this, is if we could set some guidelines and kind of give a direction, and I don't know, maybe Scott can kind of look into this and see, other communities that are doing this. So that way that's not, they're focused on, of course, we're going to have these items, these things, these topics that pop up throughout the year, but so that they're focused on what they're doing, and it's not just a meeting where all the businesses are just gonna, it's not gonna be a session to where they're just complaining or vice versa, you know what I mean, or praising, but so also that there's a focus within the group, if we could do that.
Right, absolutely. I can get, what I could do is create a mission statement for the group.
Yes,
and that way that they can stay in line with that mission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussions?
Mayor,
Mr. Ulibarri?
how many councilmen can serve on that committee?
Anyone. Mr. Romero has expressed concern, but if you'd like to serve on the committee, that I'd entertain that too.
you, sir.
Yes, sir. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, do we need to take action or just give you direction or?
I guess it's an action item, right, Cassandra?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the creation of a business advisory committee.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero. I'll entertain a second.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri,
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Mr. Mayor, next item is executive session, if there is a need.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Romero,
I make a motion to enter executive session for personnel matters as permitted by section 10-15-1, H2 of the New Mexico Meetings Act and MSA 1978.
there's a motion. I need a second.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please.
Counselor Ulibarri,
Yes.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Danelle, if we could please have the council set to executive session?
Okay, I will set you right now.
If you can give us 5 minutes, I have to a restroom break, please.
All right.
Okay. Let me know if you want me to add anyone else, okay?
Okay.
Good job. 7:30.
Eddie, can you give me a call, please? Or Danielle, can you give me a call?
Yes, Dr. Taylor, I'll give you a call right now.
Danielle, Adrian will try to get in now. He was on his phone and he got kicked out, but I think he's at a computer now.
Okay, I'll see if he joins.
Okay. Did you just join us, Adrian?
Dr. Taylor, I'm here. I joined by phone.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Taylor, I'm going to send you an invite to get into executive session, okay?
Cassandra,
Aye.
did you change into pajamas already?
No, just tied my hair back.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, Mr. Romero.
I'd like to make a motion to exit executive session and return to regular session after being in executive session for personnel matters as permitted by section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. And I'd like to know for the record that only those matters specified in the motion for closure were discussed and no action was taken.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero. I'll entertain a second, please. Second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call is please.
Counselor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Counselor Romero,
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri,
Yes.
Counselor Montoya,
You're muted. He said yes.
I have a motion by
Yes.
Counselor Romero and a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Adjournment?
I'll
Mayor, I make a
entertain a
motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Motion by Mr. Romero, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call us, please.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri,
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Counselor Romero, Counselor Romero.
Yes. Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Ulibarri. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. I appreciate
Good night.
everybody's
Good night,
time.
everybody.
Be safe.
All
On
I
the
know
road.
it snowed a foot while we were in here.
Take care.
I hate snow. I hate it. He's the IT person? Eddie?